You ever gave everything you had and still got thrown away like you were nothing? I did. My name is Ichinose Ikome. They called me the god of the swift blade. I bled for my country. I fought on the front lines. I risked everything, again and again. And what did I get for it? They called me obsolete. They called me weak. They called me dead weight. And maybe they were right. They cast me out. Then, while my old team was off collecting glory somewhere else, an S-rank calamity tore through my city. No one strong enough was near. No one but me. I knew I couldn't win. I wasn't there to win. I was there to buy time, second by second, life by life, and maybe they were right about me after all. That day, standing in front of a legendary dragon, I fell. But before I died, I stole something, a mythical item, a broken watch from the god of time himself. And with my dying breath, I used it. 10 years. I clawed my way back 10 years into the past. Not this time. Not the same mistakes. Not playing it safe. This time, I'm choosing the class everyone laughs at, the one no one's ever made work. The weaker they thought I was, the stronger I'm going to become. I'm starting from scratch, with the hardest, most powerful class there is, and I'll show this world that threw me away. They need to fear me. Ichinose is impressed by what he sees outside. His phone's information matches the watch. He then remembers using the watch to go back in time, and the system warned him that once used, the item would disappear from all timelines. Ichinose decides to check his system status. He sees everything is blank, which makes him believe he really did go back in time. After processing this, he decides to take advantage of this chance to become the strongest adventurer. The protagonist watches a debate about the increasing number of casualties and how normal people can't enter portals. One man says the scale of monsters is increasing every year, and the risk will be higher unless people in portals are separated. This makes Ichinose realize he really went back 10 years. He knows there won't be such calm debates in the future, as it was common knowledge that people wanted a strong defense force. Knowing things ahead of time is a big advantage. The information about how to get experience points and precious items will be a powerful weapon for him. Ichinose thinks he needs to get a class first, no matter what. But before getting a class, he needs to reach level 10. Low-level portals, especially those non-class users can enter, are convenient. Guilds guard them without conquering them. In an F-rank goblin nest portal, the protagonist plans to reach level 6. There, he sees an older guy fighting. The man says that was a close call and asks the newbies if they're okay. Ichinose wonders what's wrong with this old man. The man tells him walking alone is dangerous because even though goblins are weak, they can gang up and surround him. He introduces himself as Kenji Ohara, a level 16 longsword user, and says he's there to protect beginners entering the dungeon. He also says he's known as the tutorial guy. The protagonist sighs and thinks the old man isn't a bad person, but he feels uncomfortable around him. As they walk, the old man says his company went bankrupt when the portal disaster happened. He figures he can guide people even if he's older, so he put his whole heart into this task. Ichinose wonders if he should just follow him forever. Anyway, he manages to reach level 10 because he levels up quickly, thanks to his privileged knowledge. Kenji tells the protagonist he did well to get so far. He also says he's strong and will become a strong adventurer one day. Ichinose knows that even though he was demoted, he was a former S-rank before returning. The old man also says that now that he's level 10, he can choose his class and should take his time thinking about which one to pick. He even offers advice, but the protagonist has his own thoughts. Ichinose knows that selectable classes are based on his skills and stats, and skills can be unlocked by using points in certain stats. The old man recommends the longsword user class, so the protagonist can fight with strength, just like him. But given the protagonist's delicate fighting style, the thief class wouldn't be bad either. However, this is exactly what the protagonist doesn't want right now. Kenji asks if he doesn't have any skills yet and says maybe he just doesn't know how to choose. He also asks if he wasn't taught haste and strength during training. He says haste and strength increase his stats. These two skills are considered absolutely necessary, and the protagonist already had them. But he knows that if he wants to be a top-ranked adventurer, using them would be a waste of HP. He spent all night thinking about getting a specific skill. Kenji warns him not to do it. Still, the protagonist picks the fall resistance skill. The old man says resistance skills are rarely useful, and fall resistance is the most useless of all, but the protagonist knows exactly what he's doing. The old man keeps bothering him, saying he must be bad with heights and should pick a better skill next time. Ichinose then upgrades fall resistance to level 2, which drives the old man crazy. He upgrades it again to level 3, making the old man even more upset. The old man is super confused, thinking he wasted all his points on fall resistance. He also realizes this means the protagonist can only choose between the swordsman and villager classes, but the protagonist doesn't seem bothered. He's about to pick the hidden gravity user class. This class only appears if someone puts all the HP they gained up to level 10 into fall resistance, which is exactly what the protagonist did. The requirements were strict, so it took a long time to discover this. Even after it was discovered, no one got the class because it was too hard to use. There was no research on it even after 10 years, but the protagonist knows about it because he was an S-rank adventurer. He says gravity user is the strongest class. The system then asks for class confirmation. The old man warns that it's a magic class and he should be a swordsman, but the protagonist is sure about his choice. His system confirms he chose the gravity user class. Ichinos is super happy with his choice, unlike the old man. Still, the protagonist says this is the magic class he was waiting for. From now on, he says he'll aim for the top with this class and live without facing the humiliation he once did. But without knowing his past, the old man says magic classes aren't good. He also says Ichinozi is vulnerable, his resistance will be low, and his battle mortality rate will be extremely high. Finally, he tells the protagonist he should give up being an adventurer. Ichinos knows the old man only says this because people think melee classes are the strongest at this time. Suddenly, their conversation gets cut short. A red-hooded goblin appears and starts attacking people nearby. The old man thinks it must be a joke and asks why such a high-level monster showed up. He knows this goblin is a rare monster with a low chance of appearing. He only came here because he thought there would only be low-level monsters around. Now the old man thinks it's better to run, but he knows there are only rookies around, all about level 10, so he decides he has to do something. Ohara tells the protagonist to run, saying he'll distract the enemies. The protagonist sees the red-hooded goblin and thinks Ohara can easily defeat it, given their levels. But watching them fight, Ichinos realizes Ohara isn't used to fighting enemies at his own level. Ohara asks if anyone is confident enough to face a monster above level 15. No one steps forward. They're too scared, saying one hit would be the end for them. Ichinos thinks he shouldn't try to fight, as he's not at a level to handle the threat. He can't even predict the goblin's movements, and one hit would be game over for him. A gravity user's stats are low, and he hasn't even looked at his skills yet. But then he remembers Ohara, who always worries about novices. Leaving someone like that in trouble doesn't sit right with him. The protagonist also doesn't hate fighting stronger enemies. Ohara insists Ichinos can't fight the goblin at his current level. He says magic classes are weak against physical attacks, and with this level difference, Ohara says the protagonist would die in seconds. But Ichinosi stares at the red-hooded goblin. He sees it only as an enemy to test the power of his chosen class. He bet his second life as an adventurer on the strongest class, but right now he's so weak he has to run from goblins like this one, so he doesn't need that. Ohara insists the protagonist run. Ichinos knows magic classes lack physical strength, so they usually need to work with other classes. But the gravity user class is different. With gravity manipulation, an adventurer can trade mana points for a temporary boost in physical abilities, and he does just that. He uses half gravity to become lighter and faster. Ohara notices the protagonist's speed increased. Ichinos knows he can increase his speed by decreasing the gravity on his body. This makes his own movements very easy to read, but it's not a problem if he can read the enemy's movements just as easily. So the goblin that seemed dangerous before now becomes predictable. The protagonist asks the goblin how many battles it thinks he's had with speed as his only weapon. Ichinos lands a hit on the goblin. Ohara realizes a lower-level magic class just overpowered the fast goblin. The gravity user is a class with high physical abilities, as long as there are enough mana points. The potential of its core abilities is incredibly high, especially with low-level monsters that have simple movements, which the protagonist can overcome with gravity manipulation. Ohara watches him from afar and asks who he is, but the protagonist just tells Ohara to keep fighting. Even though he's surprised by all this, Ohara acts according to what Ichinosi said. Ohara advances using his sword, while the protagonist stays in the back using magic. He says he's happy the enemy turned its back on him. Using his gravity magic, he creates a gravity link. This leaves the goblin immobile and vulnerable. The old man now has everything he needs to strike it. With a single attack, he defeats the enemy. Both gain experience from killing the goblin. During the battle, Ichinos feels he can become the strongest with the gravity user class. The others look at him, wondering if the protagonist is really a rookie, since they saw him defeat a Red Hood goblin. Even Ohara thinks that even if he were attacked from all sides, he wouldn't expect a lower-level person to defeat the goblin so quickly. He also thinks the rookies don't know how incredible this feat is. The old man knows he can't just call the protagonist a genius. He's something beyond that. Meanwhile, the protagonist feels a bit weak. He almost falls after realizing he's used up all his mana points. Gravity user abilities require a lot of mana, so it runs out fast. Ichinos has already considered this, but mana point management will be very important from now on. The old man watches him closely. He thanks the protagonist for the help and asks if he should carry him out of the dungeon. Even though it's embarrassing, Ichinos agrees. Even with so many adventurers around, Ohara finds it unbelievable that a lower-level person would show up to help. Still, he's grateful to the protagonist for helping him and for giving him courage. The old man thinks he's always been afraid, even when hunting only lower-level monsters. Taking a step forward, he thinks the guy from the tutorial can finally graduate. He carries the protagonist on his back. He thinks he's happy to have witnessed the birthday of a hero, who is named Ikome Ichinos. After some time, the protagonist finishes the first inspection of his gravity user abilities, and now he's ready to level up. But the risk is much higher if he does it alone, so he wants to find a group to join temporarily. However, he runs into problems because the guild receptionist has never heard of a gravity user. She says it seems like some kind of magic class, but the stats are very low, and she wonders if anyone can fight properly with that class. The protagonist asks if there are any teams recruiting temporary members.